The story begins with a Japanese man who wakes up in a white empty room. There's no door, no window, and no other person inside. As he walks near the wall, he sees a strange button. Out of curiosity, he touches and presses it. Suddenly, hundreds of smiling tiny angels appear from the floor and walls. Stay for a few seconds and then vanish back into the walls. But before leaving, they leave behind several strange buttons on the walls. This is the learning phase. The man sniffs the finger he used to press the button and suddenly screams in fear. He calls for help, but no one responds. Then he decides to press all the buttons one by one. Each time he presses a button, a random object falls into the room, sometimes a small toothbrush, sometimes a big flower pot. Pressing the same button again brings the same object again. Eventually, he gets many chopsticks. But when he presses the button in front of him, a small trolley crashes into his feet. Out of pain and frustration, he presses another button, but that button takes the shape of a child's backyard and releases gas on his face. After hours, the room is filled with strange objects. Tired, he throws a ball at the wall. It accidentally presses a button, and a sushi plate drops. Hungry, the man becomes happy but realizes he doesn't have any soy sauce. He keeps pressing the same button hoping to get the sauce, but only sushi keeps dropping. Giving up, he eats the sushi without it. Right after finishing the last piece, he presses the button again, and finally, the soy sauce bottle falls. Angry, he throws it away. Then he presses another button and gets an old-style 3D glasses. When he wears it, he sees a small angel pointing towards a specific button. He thinks that maybe it's the way out. As soon as he presses that button, a countdown starts. And as soon as the count ends, a giant baby comes from above and releases gas on his face. Hours later, he finishes reading part 5 of a funny book. Excited, he presses a button for part 6, but instead, part 7 appears. Angry, he presses more buttons and gets part 8 and 9, but not 6. Suddenly, one button opens a hidden door in the back wall. He celebrates in joy but forgets which button opened it. Pressing random buttons again, one brings out an African tribesman who starts running from wall to wall. Another button causes water to fall on his head. Finally, he finds the correct button again. As he walks toward the door, it closes in front of him. The same thing happens again. He realizes that the door only stays open while the button is held down. He tries many creative ways, pressing it with his foot, pulling it with a string, even hitting it with a fly swatter. Nothing works. Then he places the flower pot over the button, but the button still pops back up. He decides to make the pot heavier. First, he tries filling it with water, but it just pours onto him. Then, he fills it with sushi until it becomes too heavy to lift. Using chopsticks, he starts pulling the sushi out, one by one. Finally, he lifts the pot again and walks to the button, only to realize he has forgotten which button it was. Nervously, he presses one, and the same tribesman comes out again, crashing into the pot and breaking it in two. Angry, the man mutters to himself and finds the correct button again. This time, he tries covering the button with sushi, but it pops up again. Then, he uses tape, but it still doesn't hold. After some painkillers, he finally sleeps peacefully. When he wakes up, he feels the need to brush his teeth. To get water, he presses a button, but it's the wrong one. Instead, a long rope falls from above. This gives him an idea. He presses the button again and swings with the rope to reach the door just in time before it closes. Inside, he finds another door, but it's locked. He rushes back before the first door shuts and barely makes it, but again, the door hits his back. Furious, he kicks a button, and suddenly a key floats in midair. He realizes it's for the second door, but like the door, the key disappears after a while. Now he has to figure out how to keep both the door and the key available at the same time. First, he needs to find the button that drops the key, which he has forgotten. He presses a random button and a dog comes out barking. The same happens the second time. On the third try, he finally gets the key button again. He watches it closely, grabs sushi, and places it on the button. But again, the dog appears. Angry, he finds the key button again and makes a new plan. He uses the rope to swing and reach both buttons at the same time, but the plan fails. When he falls to the floor, he sees a plunger, which he got from one of the old buttons. Seeing it, a brilliant idea strikes him. Using the plunger, he can stick to the wall and press the button. After a few failed attempts, his plan starts working. He swings with the rope, uses the plunger to press the button, then pushes back with it and catches the key. Then, he presses the door button and enters the room before it shuts. But there's a twist. Above the door, there's another lock that needs a 3-digit passcode. Panicked, he rushes back to the first room, but again, the door hits his back. Furious, he throws the plunger at the wall. It hits a button and the tribesman appears again. As he walks past the man sees 3 numbers written on his forehead. He quickly realizes that these are the passcode numbers. But there's a time limit inside the wall, so he goes in and out 3 times to enter each number. As soon as all 3 digits are entered, the lock opens. He takes a breath of relief, but now the first door is shut. He finds himself trapped again. This time, the space is so tight that he can't even try opening the door. Tired and hopeless, he sits down on the floor. He remembers the moments when he used to play with the weird items from the buttons. He realizes that even though he was trapped before, at least he had fun. Suddenly, he feels a gentle breeze on his face from a side wall. Curious, he touches the wall and discovers a crack. He quickly opens it and enters a mysterious hallway. The path feels like it's floating in the air, and it seems like it would take forever to escape. He keeps running and finally reaches a new room. As he enters, his hair grows long and his clothes fade in color. Shocked by the change, he sees the door close behind him. The room looks just like the first one, but this time, instead of small angels, there are larger ones. They stay for a while and vanish again, leaving behind more strange buttons. This is the practice phase. The man is nearly broken, but then he notices a strange light coming from above. He sees there's no ceiling, and some angels are flying above. This time, he uses the buttons not to get items but to climb upward. As he climbs by pressing buttons, strange things begin to happen on Earth, from flowers blooming to elephants dying. The higher he climbs, the more powerful the effects become. It doesn't stop at nature, now it affects humanity, like starting a toaster or landing on the moon. Eventually, he reaches the top. His hair and beard are very long now, and he floats like the angels. He no longer needs to press buttons. He begins choosing the greatest events for humanity. As he completes his task, the room's walls vanish, and wings appear around him. A magical portal opens. He enters it and reaches the final room. This is the future stage. One wall has maps of all continents. The other has a giant button. The man moves towards it, and with this mysterious ending, the story comes to a close.